to the Connect podcast. I'm Jennifer Spivey, and I'm so excited to be with you today. We're diving into a message today that meets, I think, everyone right where they are at one point or another, that space that I'm calling being in the middle. You know what I mean by in the middle, right? It's not the moment where the storm hits and everything in your world shifts. It's not the victorious moment where God restores, rebuilds, and brings that needed clarity and restoration. It's that long in-between stretch, the waiting place. It's where your prayers might feel unanswered, your heart might feel tired, where your faith feels stretched thin, and your circumstances seem stuck. It's the place where Job sat, not knowing the full picture, not having all the answers, sitting in the ashes, yet still holding on to a God he didn't fully understand, but he did fully trust. If you're in that place today, my friend, I want you to know this. You're not stuck. You're being shaped. The middle seasons are not wasted. In fact, they're very often the seasons where God does his most significant work, the kind of work you don't see yet, but you'll look back on one day and you'll say, oh, that's what you were doing. In the middle, God teaches you to see honestly, not pretending that the pain isn't real, but also not letting the pain tell the whole story. God teaches you to listen deeply and let his voice carry more weight than your fear or your frustration. God teaches you to receive humbly, to let him correct, comfort, stretch, and strengthen you. And he teaches you to trust steadily, choosing his promises over your present situation. And he teaches you to stand expectantly, knowing that restoration is already in motion even before you feel restored. This is the path of spiritual maturity, and this is the path Job walked. This is the path that Jesus walked in his sorrow, and this is the path that God walks with you. So let's finish up our series in the middle. The middle feels uncomfortable because it exists between two worlds. It exists between brokenness and wholeness, between loss and rebuilding, between ashes and restoration, between lament and praise. But here's the good news. The middle is where God's faithfulness shines the brightest. You may not see the rebuilt house yet, but the builder is already working. It's like that moment when the insurance adjuster has called. The check is in the mail. The rebuild is guaranteed, but you're still standing in the ashes. The promise is sure, but the process is still unfolding. And I just want you to know, I want you to be assured that God is faithful in both places. He's faithful in the promise, and he's faithful in the process. If this conversation is speaking to you today, will you just take a quick second to like, follow, or leave a comment? It just really helps other people find the podcast, and it helps us spread encouragement to women who may need it. Thank you so much for that. So let's get back to it. Job discovered something profound in the ashes of his own life. He discovered that God is faithful, not just at the end of the story, but right in the middle of it. The same God who restored Job at the end is the same God who sat with Job in the ashes. He does not abandon you in his sorrow. He does not forget you in the waiting. He does not overlook you in the confusion. He's forming you, strengthening you, comforting you, and preparing you even right now. God's faithfulness isn't proven only when the blessings return. God's faithfulness is proven in the middle when nothing makes sense. So let's look at what Scripture says about who God is in our middle season. God sees and knows your heart. Job 1:8 shows us that God knew Job intimately, his character, his faithfulness. Psalm 139 reminds us that God knows our hearts, our words, our path. Nothing about your middle season and nothing about you is hidden from his sight. We can be assured that God is present even in the suffering. Job recognized this. How about Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you." Psalm 46:1 calls him an ever-present help in time of trouble. His presence doesn't disappear when circumstances get hard. Another thing, God corrects with love. Job 42 shows us Job's humble response to God's correction. Hebrews 12, we mentioned it last week, says that God disciplines his children for good, shaping us into his righteousness. And God restores and he rebuilds. Job 42 ends with restoration, but the restoration started long before Job could see it. Joel 2 says that God restores the years the locusts have eaten. Psalm 23:3 says he restores our soul. His faithfulness is unshakable. Lamentations 3 says his mercies renew every morning. 2 Timothy 2:13 says that even when we are faithless, he is faithful. Job 121 shows us a man who worships in loss, not because he understood everything, but because he trusted God's character. And God invites you into that trust. Job 13:15 says, though he slay me, yet I will trust him. Proverbs 3:5-6, trust him with all your heart and he will direct your path. That's a favorite. God provides perspective beyond your circumstances. And so when God answers Job in chapters 38-41, he doesn't explain the why, he reveals the who. And Romans 8:28 reminds us everything is being woven for our good and his glory. So what do you do in the middle? You stay close. You keep listening. You keep surrendering. You keep trusting. You keep showing up with your whole heart, even when the ashes of your situation are all you can see, even when the check hasn't arrived yet, even when the rebuilding hasn't begun. Let God meet you right there, not just to bring you out, but to transform you in the now, in the middle. Even in the middle, he is faithful. Are you glad that this series is over? I'm not. I love Job. I'm going to miss him. Thank you so much for joining me on the Connect podcast, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. If you want to learn more, please visit connectmentoringnetwork.org for more resources. And if you need a Christian mentor to jumpstart and propel your leadership or discipleship journey, I would be so honored to come alongside you. And so I hope you'll join me again next week on the podcast. We'll start a new series. I promise it won't be another to be continued about Job, at least. I love y'all. Thanks for connecting with me today, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.